Dashing through towards the holidays faster than a fat man in a red suit, it's Weekendology Podcast back again with episode number 56. Weekendology is the only podcast with the hottest takes, the best talking points, and the stories to spark your weekend conversations. With everything related to all the best topics from music, movies, sports, food, and more, we've got you covered to save you from your weekly woes. I'll be your host, Will Deichley, alongside the jolliest person to ever grace the planet, Aaron Berg. What's up, Aaron? How you doing? Ever.
Why are you talking about yourself like that, man?
Aw.
Yeah.
Talking about me? I am wearing a red shirt right now. So. No, you are the jolliest person I've ever met, Aaron.
Thank you.
Give yourself some credit here. It's almost Christmas time. At Weekendology Podcast, we're doing the 25 days of Christmas. It's a great time. 2020 is almost over with now.
We can agree finally that the best holiday is Christmas. So
the best holiday is Halloween, but Christmas is second.
Okay,
so.
I always get confused because I feel like you've said Christmas is better before. Now you're saying Halloween.
No, Halloween's always been better, but Christmas is a very close second. We can't agree on that, but we can agree.
I'm not so jolly anymore now.
Well, thanks for all of our returning listeners for joining us again, and if you're new to the show, welcome. The show's all about changing, improving, and making things better as we cover all the best topics from around the pop culture and the sports world. Weekendology is brought to you by the Big Red World. Go check them out. They've got some great podcasts like The House That Rick Built and Six Drunk, One Sober. They're up on Twitter at Big Red Social, and their website is bigredworld.org. Check out our webpage on the Big Red World's websites for links to our episodes, social handles, and even blogs about our latest content. And be sure to show your love and support by following us on our social handles. You can keep up with things all related to music, movies, sports, video games, and all the great things changing about the world and Weekendology. Our main Twitter is at WeekendologyPod, and wherever you listen to podcasts. For all things sports related, check out our sports handle at Weekendology Sports. And to stay entertained, check out our entertainment handle at Weekendology Ent or Weekendology ENT. However you want to say it, Aaron, is good with me. So
yeah, tomato.
Tomato, potato, potato.
ENT.
Whatever.
Weekendology.
Yeah. Like that. I kind of like that word, Weekendology. I don't know. It's funny. Anyway, for those of you who don't have Twitter, go check out our Facebook page at Weekendology Podcast. And as you listen to this week's episode, make sure to rate, comment, subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio, wherever.
Show us some love.
Show us some love wherever you're listening from. We want to hear from you guys. You know, maybe if you
I hear we're big in Italy.
We are. We do have an international following, Aaron. We're big in Italy and in Germany, actually.
Mr. Worldwide.
We are. We're prestige worldwide.
Wide.
We'll get a soundboard and have some echoes in the background for our next episode. But this is our last episode of 2020, Aaron. Can you believe it? We've reached the end of 2020.
Yeah, it's been a ride for sure.
The year that has lasted seems like for 5 years.
So
almost.
It's funny. I haven't done this in a while. So because we're just gonna go through our favorites and kind of a recap of the year. Because everyone needs that, a recap of one of the worst years ever.
We're doing our year in review for this episode.
But it's funny going back and looking at these episodes, man. What a journey.
It has been a journey.
We have predictions in here. We have breaking news. We have... It's
a lot of the predictions
overarching,
came true.
Man. Wow.
A lot of the predictions did come true.
Yeah,
so.
not about COVID. We're kind of wrong on that.
No,
one. I was, at least. I was very wrong.
No, but some of the episodes that we'll recap here about sports or education or TV has actually come to fruition. So you might want to call upon us to do your fortune telling readings and everything.
We got the tarot cards ready.
We do. But before we kick off the episode, we got to do our pick of the week, Aaron. What are we watching, listening to, reading, whatever it may be? What is your pick of the week this week?
So I'm going with a book this week.
Wow.
It's Christmas time. Just sitting around with the family.
I'm excited for this.
Yeah. It's The System. It's about college sports. Very interesting.
Okay.
Also, because we talked a lot about college sports this year, I feel like.
We have, yes.
But yeah, it's specifically college football. And really how... It's interesting. It's a good book because it's not too critical. It's not should we pay athletes or should we, do this or that. It's just really this guy spent 2 years traveling the country, going to all sorts of teams. He goes to University of Texas. He goes to Towson University.
So is he like a journeyman or?
No, he's a journalist.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah, he's an author. So yeah, he's a journalist. And he spends 2 years just going to all sorts of schools, which is really cool because I feel like, a lot of these authors, they'll just talk about, oh, let's go over Ohio State for the millionth time and talk about the Jim Tressel scandal. Or, he gets into that. He plays the greatest hits, but he also gets into these small schools and kind of just analyzing how are they able to compete? How is it set up for big schools to stay on top? And really just how is it set up for college football to be profitable and how big of a moneymaker it is.
Yeah.
And how scandalous it is just so everyone can come out on top and make the most money possible.
That's really interesting.
Very, very interesting. Very, very detailed. And I like too, a lot of these sports books as well, it's too much on the field play. They try to make you feel like you're watching the movie or something, Yeah. And this is it's a good kind of combination of on-field play, but also off the field. So
I always love the college atmosphere for sports off the field, like the whole system and everything. And is it corrupt? Is it not corrupt?
Why it's called the system.
It's really, really fascinating. So I think I'll definitely check out the book then. So
it is. It's by Jeff Benedict.
Then. Yeah. Cool. So I will go and borrow it from you when you're done reading it. So.
Yeah, you got to finish the Motley Crue book.
I've been slacking on all my reading.
That's a good one. That's a future pick of the week. Woo, I just got to save that for...
Save that one then. So.
That's a 2021 pick. 2020 can't handle that book.
No, it's too much for that. But
what do you got?
So my pick of the week is a good old classic Christmas movie. Watching Die Hard. Gotta love.
Oh man, this is
John McClane. I watched Hans Gruber.
I watched this.
This is a Christmas movie, Aaron.
Let me tell you something. I watched this over Thanksgiving, and it's a great movie, and I love Bruce Willis, one of my favorite actors. It's not a Christmas movie at all. Why do people say that?
A Christmas movie.
Why?
Because it takes place during Christmas.
That doesn't make it a Christmas movie.
Tons of Christmas stuff. He uses Christmas lights to strangle I don't know, one of the German assassins or something.
But it's not about Christmas.
It's still a Christmas movie. Any movie that takes place near Christmas time.
We're going near Christmas time now? December, it's early December, so that's a Christmas movie.
Yes, exactly. It's a Christmas movie.
I will die on that hill. It bothers me when people say it's a Christmas movie.
Every year.
Which apparently everyone thinks it is, but...
I watched John McClane take on Hans Gruber and throw him off the side of Nagatomo Plaza every year in Christmas.
But that doesn't make it a Christmas movie.
Yes, it does, Aaron. I guess we'll just agree to disagree then. So
we need to do an episode on why it's a Christmas movie because I will never understand it because every time people are just like, well, because it takes place during Christmas.
I will collaborate and bring together arguments for you, and I will present my case.
I want a full thesis,
and I will present my thesis for you. It'll be 2021.
It's a great movie. That's a good pick.
Yes.
Thoroughly entertaining.
Well, that is my pick of the week. I am watching that because I am getting into the holiday spirit. It's almost Christmas time, so I've got to. I'm ready to go. I'm ready to.
Also, fun fact: did you know the guy that plays Snape is in that movie?
Yeah.
I never knew.
Alan Rickman.
Yeah.
He played Hans Gruber. So, yeah. R.I.P. to both of them in real life and in the movie. So. Yeah.
R.I.P. Didn't know that.
So, but yeah, so that's our picks of the week then. Go check them out. I'm sure you've probably seen Die Hard probably before, but maybe not read the system. So if you're bored this weekend, go check it out. If you're not bored, then...
even if you've seen Die Hard a million times, you got to...
Just keep watching it and tell us why it's a Christmas movie.
You could read the system and have Die Hard in the background because you know what...
You kind of know what's going to happen. So, but we're wrapping up this year, Aaron, with a special episode here at Weekendology Studios. We're taking a look back at all of the hottest takes, the best talking points, and the stories that sparked all of our weekend conversations with our year in review. So we've crushed it this year, Aaron, releasing 37 episodes in total, starting from January 10th all the way up until December 11th. So can you believe we've done 37 different topics of change and improvements? Man, that's crazy.
January 10th, if I could go back.
Oh, man, if I could go back.
if I could talk to my younger self.
Just watch out for March 16th and just steer clear of that and you'll be fine. But
oh, man.
Yeah. So, we want to give a huge thanks to all of our listeners who've tuned in each week this year to listen to us babble on about our ideal changes in the world of pop culture, sports, TV, music, whatever it is that we're
we
talking
hope you were
about.
thoroughly entertained.
We
every
hope
weekend.
you were thoroughly entertained. Our listeners are amazing, so thank you so much. We hope you guys can continue listening to us as we cap off what was a pretty crazy and challenging year for all of us, but it was a good year nonetheless, especially for Weekendology. I mean, we had our best year. We've been at this for almost, what was it, a year and a half now, almost now, and with 56 episodes in, plus a handful of mini episodes throughout the week, we've garnered a pretty decent cult following, as I'll call it.
Okay,
So.
I will have one beef here with our loyal listeners.
Oh, what's that?
Who gave us 2 stars?
Oh, somebody
Who
gave us 2 stars?
I mean, hey.
We appreciate the honesty.
At least you didn't do
we
one.
did
but
actually
2?
say, even if it's like a 1 or 2 star review at one point, we'll take the review no matter what.
That's just that's just weird.
No, it is a very,
Have you ever rated anything 2 stars?
No, I've always rated either 5 stars, like 3 stars.
Man, so now we have a 4.5 rating.
Well, comment and rate us 5 stars, please. We appreciate it.
Yeah, get us back up
or
the charts.
Just do 3 stars then.
2 stars. I've never seen that before. Wow.
We want to
Tough
thank
crowd.
all of our guests that are who have appeared throughout this year. We haven't had as many guests as we did last year, but we had Colin Kessler on of our network from the Big Red World. We had the Wild and Free Band on as well, highlighting a glittering list of all the guests we've had on since the show's creation. So go check them out. We've had David Rosen on our last week's episode, too. He's from Piecing It Together podcast. We talked about the evolution of movie theaters and movies throughout time. So go check them out on Twitter, on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook. Their social handles will be in the description below. We want to thank all of our guests who have come on this year. Not as many as we'd like.
3 guests.
But,
well, studio got shut down, so
studio did get shut down,
and
and we haven't quite mastered the art of remote broadcasting yet.
We're sorry that you had to listen to us more than usual, more than the 2019 version.
That's all right. We formed our identity.
We'll get some good ones back on.
We will. So we'll kick it off with the first episode back this year in January 10th. We talked about the rise of esports, talking about the origins of competitive gaming, the economic impact of esports turning into a multi-billion-dollar industry. So do you remember this episode, Aaron? This was a really fun one for me to record. I liked...
Yeah, you're a gamer.
I am a gamer. I do love video games, and I think it was the dawn of a brand new esports team was signed, and they got like a record deal or something. So that's what prompted us to do the episode. But I liked this episode. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah. I don't follow esports, but how are they doing with the pandemic? You know how
I think they're just fine. Like there's no in-person competitions,
right.
But they don't really have
to stream.
Yeah, they can stream and do everything remotely. So even like the fans, they can just watch on Twitch and they're good to go. So maybe they'll lose on some broadcasting deals with TV, but I still feel like they can do it just fine. So I think everything's going well with it. But I like this episode. It took a look at the ins and outs of the industry. It was it's a huge industry as well, and a lot of times people can make a living off of being a professional gamer. I mean, winning $300,000 in a tournament is pretty good, and a lot more money than I'll make in a year. So
I still will never understand why people like watching video games, but I still have the same opinion I did.
I do it sometimes if it's like a game that I'm really wanting to get better at or learn some inside tips on.
That makes sense.
Then I'll watch like a streamer and be like, oh, okay, I didn't know that.
It's like watching film.
Pretty much, yeah. Like you hit the game tape on Monday morning, after your weekend binge of video games, like, oh man, what did I do wrong? My record was terrible or something. So, so that was our first episode. Next, we take a look at the new wave of industry trends of food delivery apps, with laziness on the rise and restaurants declining in popularity. The rise of food delivery apps like Uber Eats, DoorDash, Postmates, Favor kind of took the industry by storm, and it's not slowing down anytime soon. So our first prediction kind of came true of it going to gain in popularity.
Yeah, we definitely got that right. I would say, too, they took our advice, and I feel like... Have you noticed this? I feel like it got a little better with quality of the food because more people there's more exposure to it. So now they had to improve and
they figured it out. And looking back on it pre-pandemic, I would say that they
So we did that one pre-pandemic.
Yeah, so that was in January.
We're Nostradamuses.
We
over
are
here.
Nostradamuses. Yes,
amazing.
but they kind of a lot of the restaurants got so much better at one, like creating or like making the food, and then the delivery app services got much better at delivering it. Contactless delivery will probably be forever from now on. And like free delivery and a lot of stuff like that will probably keep going though. So yeah, I would say it's very much the future of the food industry, at least ordering wise, if all these food delivery apps. But our next one, we put down our knives and forks, and we took a breather from the world of food, and we look at the extravagance of modern day life and unhappiness. So this one was a very interesting episode for us to do. We thought about, is it possible for the conveniences of modern day life in the world to have a reverse effect on our happiness, so to speak? I think we came to the conclusion of it does to a certain point. Like if we use too much social media or we have an over-reliance on it, then the pressures and stresses of modern day life is going to be, I guess, paramount.
I mean, we're seeing that again. We're just regular predictors over here, man. We nailed that one because I mean, look, like just how this year's been. People are constantly on social media. They're constantly looking at just outlets, and things to just make them happy. But in turn, it's making them sadder. Because we're just especially with a election year too. Just how much negativity was spread, how much just the arguing and the mean-spirited comments, and it's just people taking out their anger on social media. And I think it was an effect of because you're just on it all the time.
Yeah, and now that like people are inside most of the time, and there's really not a whole lot of social gatherings, that then they get so focused on it, they're like, oh, this is so boring now. Like I've been doing this for 9 months now, and so like they're not getting outside, they're maybe not getting enough exercise, and so that over reliance on it is definitely leads to a decline in mental health. So check number 2 for our predictions then for earlier this year, because most of these episodes are the ones that we're talking about, like first 5 or 6, are pre-pandemic. So
which is insane to think about.
It's very crazy, yes. So for our 4th episode of the year, we welcomed Colin Kessler of the Big Red World. He was our first guest on for this year. He talked about the media company revolution for our next episode. So we talked about podcasts, media companies, how businesses are kind of utilizing the realm of online media to grow. I thought this was an interesting episode because, one, he's kind of grown up into the media company revolution, and obviously we do podcasts. There's so many podcasts out there, and there's so many different companies that rely on social media marketing or content generation for YouTube videos or podcasts or so on and so forth. So,
well, I thought it was such an interesting year for podcasting because you would think it would be fine because people are sitting around, they have all this time to listen to podcasts. It was great. But the amount of sponsors that dropped off and people not being able to make money off of it.
Yeah.
A lot of podcasts had to shut down because of that. I mean, it was a really tough year. So I think with that one, at that time it would be like, well, why would this stop? That trend's going to keep going. Now I think podcasting, they got to get out of the rut that was created earlier in the year with that.
Yeah, you got to be more creative with how you're going to do your revenue streams and generations. You can't just rely solely on
can't ride the
anymore.
wave, of podcasting,
right?
And it's the popular.
And now
thing.
that there's so many of them out there, it's
and how many people are trapped inside? We're like, oh, I could do this too, and they just start doing it.
Pretty much, yeah.
Which is, I think, a good thing because it makes the industry more diverse and easier to do. I mean, it's easier to record now, but at the same time, like it was saturated back earlier this year, but now it's really saturated.
It very much is, yeah.
I think that's one where it's kind of on a negative trend right now.
Well, we'll see where the future of it goes, and I still think podcasting is going to be around for a great number of years, but the format of it might change across the board. So, but yeah, go check that episode out. Our 5th episode of the year, we took on another guest. We had bands on the rise with the Wild and Free as we continued our series on rising musicians, as we talked origins, inspirations, upcoming projects with the Wild and Free. It was a great episode to kind of delve into the music and highlight one of the best up-and-coming bands from my hometown, St. Louis. So I thought it was a cool episode. They have some great music too. They actually just passed 5,000 streams on Spotify.
Ooh.
So I think that's a pretty good milestone for them.
Congratulations.
Were
they on your Spotify Wrapped?
They were not on my rap.
But, you're not a loyal fan.
I have listened to them quite a bit, so I'm not sure why it wasn't on there, but maybe I just listened to everything else so much more. So,
well, I mean, you're not me. You're not the 4%. I was in the top 4% of listeners of Juice World.
that's pretty impressive.
R.I.P. Juice World, man. I honored him.
You certainly did.
I definitely did that.
I was not on the 4% for the Wild and Free.
Yeah,
but,
neither was I.
They are,
but good music. Very, very different, and I liked. It's just good interview, but good people, and I like too how they're just one of those bands where they're rock music, but it's kind of like, well, what type of rock is this? And I love bands like that where you can't put them in a box of, well, you're pop punk or you're, punk or you're post-hardcore or you're whatever. You can just, they're just music, and then that way too, it gives them outlets where they can do a slow song, they can do a harder song or a heavier song, they can do a ballad, and it doesn't matter. It's just good music. So.
Yeah, they have good songs all around. So their social handles will be in the
I want
description.
concerts back, man. That's been the toughest thing. I want to see them in concert.
They were supposed to come and do like a tour of like the Southwest or whatever.
Yeah.
I don't know if Dallas was included, but I think Texas was somewhere included.
Yeah, I remember them saying that. Yeah, it didn't.
Very bummed that they didn't get to do that. But
hopefully, they're still pumping out music though. So
they are. They get a new song coming out around the holidays in a couple weeks. So I can't remember what the name of it is. I'm a terrible fan, but I'll be sure to plug it out on our social handle on Twitter. So check out for that. So our next episode of Valentine's Day brought us kind of a new question with entertainment in sports. We looked at if entertainment in sports is more important than the game itself, as we talked about minor league spectacles, how sports are dramatized and kind of glamorized, and if the actual sport itself takes a backseat to all of the media coverage around it. And I thought this was an interesting episode, a little bit different, a little bit kind of an interesting question that we posed, because there's a lot of entertainment and kind of media speculation or spectacles, I guess, within the sports world itself. And sometimes it does feel like the sport, if you watch Sports Center or any of like the news outlets covering it, it's all about the greatest storylines and not the actual
building drama.
Yeah, like
not the X's and O's.
Yeah, not the tactics of the sport. Like they talk about LeBron James being LeBron James, but they didn't talk about how well he played or how
forget he's
bad
a basketball player.
Yeah, or like I don't know if it's the NFL, like we're always talking about Patrick Mahomes, but we're not really talking about like, well, he had 345 yards and 5 touchdowns again. Like that's
boring. That's nerd stuff.
That's boring. So I thought that was a fun episode.
So it was interesting. We briefly brought up Last Dance on our last episode.
We did.
And also because Last Dance rewatch is still going on in the Berg household. But also we had Last Dance featured on an earlier episode. We covered that. But I found that so interesting when I was doing the rewatch because they hammered that point home where when Michael Jordan came in, it went from, because even when Magic and Bird were playing, it still was basketball. When Jordan came, it was brand.
Yeah.
It was shoes and, selling everything.
Commercials and sponsorships.
Right. Yeah.
And
it was like watching a superhero, instead of, I'm just going to watch a basketball game.
Yeah. I think that's when sports really kind of turned on its head and was like, okay, this is more than just sports itself. This is an entire thing we can do.
Right.
So we stayed in sports for our next episode. We talked about which sports leagues had the best all-star games. This is still pre-pandemic, so we were
we were just talking about stuff that didn't really matter. So.
Yes, lobbying
having fun with
for,
our lives.
some suggestions that the pro sports teams could do, but I think we landed on the NBA and the NFL, or the NBA and the NHL having the more, I guess, popular type of models. The MLB and the NFL, not so much. They kind of struggled with their all-star games, but I definitely love the NBA style and kind of the culture that it brings with the whole weekend.
They didn't do any all-star stuff in the bubbles, right?
No, they did not.
They just canceled it.
I went to the NBA All-Star game in February, which is like a month before shutdown.
Oh, you got lucky.
I did get lucky, but no, they didn't do any All-Star stuff because it was still technically the same season. So.
Yeah. I feel like they should have though. That would have been a cool opportunity if they would have done bubble All-Stars or one of those things. Just because when I watched it, it felt like a different season in the bubble.
It felt like a preseason in the bubble.
Yeah, so. I felt like freaking
no
summer
offense
league.
to the Lakers who won it, but it didn't.
No offense.
It didn't really feel like you won
fake
it,
championship.
So
LeBron.
He's gonna take that to his grave and be like, "I've got 4 championships now." pandemic year asterisks
Of course
and everything. So
yeah. Hey! If you could give the Spurs, everyone always ripped on the Spurs when Tim Duncan won his first championship. Oh, you played a lockout year, dude. A bubble year is way worse than a lockout year.
Yeah. Well, we rolled into the spring and we moved back into the entertainment sphere as we talked about how movies influence the real world in episode number 25 with us. We looked at what lessons and teachings the movies could relay onto us, from even making ordinary life feel special to helping us cope with bad times to helping us relate to others as we helped achieve our own goals. So I think this was very on point for the beginning of the pandemic as everyone turned to movies and really kind of gravitated towards, how the empathetic feeling that you get from watching them. But there's some great lessons and stuff you can learn from movies, and be inspired by watching your favorite characters, I guess.
And it's gonna be interesting too. I feel like we haven't seen it yet, but I feel like it's gonna imitate real life with pandemic, and we're gonna see more of people wearing masks in movies. And
well, you've already seen that in some of the TV shows, like Love in the Time of Corona is
the reality shows,
like kind of the reality shows, but even some of like the scripted shows take place. It's almost like they're very meta in pandemic world, but it's like they're fictional characters and fictional storylines and stuff. So yeah, I think we're probably going to see a lot of people wearing masks or referencing coronavirus or
I'm surprised they haven't. Maybe because people want to escape from that. They don't want to. If I'm for me personally, I hear it all the time in the news, so I don't. When I watch a movie, I want to like forget what's going on. But I'm surprised they haven't started imitating them.
Yeah, me too. But the next episode is when the horror struck as the pandemic did officially start. Coronavirus forced us to shut ourselves in. Quarantine started, so that meant we had to look at how COVID was changing the real world. We didn't know too much about it back then. But
we knew nothing about it.
We knew nothing about it. But there were some interesting changes that I think that we predicted or said that might come about, from permanent restaurants, like social gathering protocols, to travel restrictions. We looked at maybe some new health standards and requirements. And
have you gone back and listened to that one recently? I haven't. So
I have not.
I want to, because I'm curious.
I did reread my old notes for it though in preparation for this episode, and I was like, man, we were kind of on point for some of these things. So
I thought we were wrong. So that's good.
We were wrong like 60% of the time, but
6% of the time it works every time.
Exactly. But I'd say 9 months later, COVID is still changing the world as we speak, and some of the things that we said in there actually did come up and stay. Like there's going to be more health restrictions for hotels and hospitality, or traveling, or I guess social gathering protocols and stuff.
I just hope it makes people think twice about just hygiene in general. Because I really, with all these bad things that happen in the world, just in general, wars or terrorism or pandemics or just anything really bad, I think it's the silver lining is it gives us another opportunity to think about what we were doing before. And I think something like this, where I saw so many people not wash their hands after like using the bathroom, like kindergarten stuff.
Very much
just
so.
Gross,
Yep.
And not cleaning restaurants properly. Like you watch Bar Rescue, and that was always the issue. They never would clean properly, and they get people sick.
And the kitchens, and
right? And it's just like taking that second look. I think is so important, and hopefully, I don't trust people because people are gross, but like I hope that this just gets ingrained in us to, hey, throw on some hand sanitizer once in a while. You don't have to be a freak about it, but like wash your hands. Stuff they taught you in kindergarten.
Not hard.
Just keep doing it.
Yeah, just be clean. And
yeah, like I said, I don't trust people. I think people are gonna forget because they always do. But I just hope that
it is what it is.
It becomes like like wearing a seatbelt for most people. I say most people because there's idiots that don't. But like you get in a car, you just naturally throw on a seatbelt.
You would hope so, but. As we quarantined and stayed inside, though, our use of technology skyrocketed. So with episode number 27 of the year, we talked about, is it possible to have an over-reliance on technology? It's very integrated in every part of our lives.
And this year we proved no, because we need it.
We definitely need it. But we did talk about some of the ways technology is integrated into our society in very critical areas, like finance systems or healthcare systems, or even like electricity and stuff. And, if those systems were to go down, what would happen to society because we're so reliant upon it? Obviously, we don't use papers and pens and notebooks and, arbitrary systems like that to keep track of our finances or health records. So everything's electronic. What if, I don't know, on the off chance that the grid went
What
down?
if Y2K
Yeah,
happened?
what if Y2K happened or something? So
Y2K wasn't 2000, it was 2020. So.
that was as close to an apocalyptic year as you're going to get.
Still a couple
this
weeks
year.
left.
Somebody, I read somewhere that they said that 2020 was written by M. Night Shyamalan. And they're like, oh, it's almost over. And I was like, that means there's one more twist that's still to happen. So
that means there's a terrible sequel.
Yes. And then M. Night Shyamalan's going to show up out of nowhere because he writes himself into every movie or something. But I think this was a fun episode, too, because I think we are very reliant on technology. And sometimes you need to cut the cord and get away from it. And now, during more time than ever, to not be on your phone.
Well, and that's what I worry about, talking about things that will be ingrained. I think that's something that will even more so be ingrained, is we're just so used to, Zoom. Everything's on Zoom now.
Yep.
Everything's on our phones, and it always was. I get that. But, I think it's become so everyday. And even with older people, you see they do, the family Zoom share.
Yes, very much. Just like how Love in the Time of Corona is.
I think that's the cheesiest thing
ever.
Cheesy. But you see 80-year-old people that would never, they didn't know what Zoom was. Now they're using it all the time.
Zoom call. What does this
this
mean?
is some great technology. But I think that's what's really going to be even more so ingrained. It really sped that up. So
yeah, I agree.
And it's not that it's a terrible thing, but it's something where we probably didn't need it more ingrained than it already
Probably not. But episode number 28 got a little bit topical for our next one as COVID continued to shut down, and travel and hospitality, as Aaron and I are experts in this field. We took to a look
experts
at how,
in everything. What
pretty
are you
much, but especially travel hospitality. We took a look at how the industry is being changed from COVID. A lot of new health standards for airlines and hotels. Social distancing kind of left seats open in airplanes, and people meant that they were trying to stay closer to home. So there was a lot of changes in the hotels, obviously not being frequented enough. And I don't think this is going to change anytime soon, sadly. So this is one of those ones where we were kind of on point with it not going to be changing anytime soon. But there's some of the things we proposed, like health standards or protocols for taking your temperature before boarding an airplane, or the mask thing is going to stay
really
forever.
weird to me. So I was on a plane last weekend, actually, or 2 weekends ago. I don't know, whatever. Recently. And it's so weird. They don't take your temperature when you get on the plane, but then you go to a restaurant and they'll take your temperature.
Yeah.
It's like, I'm in a box in the air. Maybe you should take my temperature before I get on.
Yeah, or ask some screening questions or something. It
just doesn't make any sense. But then when you go to a restaurant, they do, I don't know.
I still feel like a lot we're trying to figure out the best practices for this kind of stuff.
I also still feel like those arm temperatures are fake. I think they're just beep, yeah, you're good.
Well, I went to the doctor a couple of weeks or months ago, and you get the head scan thing, or the forehead thermometer or something, and those happen in 2 seconds. They're
yeah. There's no way you know what my temperature is.
And I'm just like, how does that work? So I don't know. I still think travel hospitality is going to be going through a long recovery period.
Cruise ships are back on though, which is really weird.
It's very weird.
I'm shocked. January, they're all getting back out there, and
people are just tired of COVID, I guess.
Yes, yeah, man. I need a vacation.
This year was really influenced for our episodes about COVID. There's a lot of episodes that we had. It was between March and May where a lot of our episodes.
Well, because I remember, a lot of the ways me and Will get the topics. We go on Twitter. We just scroll social media like everyone, and we're just like, oh, that's interesting. You want to talk about that this week?
We can have a conversation about that. So
right, and so it's but then at that 3-month period specifically, it was every single thing.
It was
just COVID, and it's oh my god,
I mean,
there was nothing else to talk about. There was nothing else going on because sports are shut down still. Theaters were shut. Everything. The world was shut down.
Well, it's good that you mentioned the sports shutdown because that was what our next episode was on. Hey. So episode 29 of this year took a look at all of the sports leagues being shut down, and we asked, if they could survive the shutdown.
Such a depressing time. That was the weirdest.
True apocalyptic time was happening.
Yeah.
It was
man,
very, very strange. But
it still makes me crack up when I think of Rudy Gobert. He touched all the microphones, and then he got
Rudy's
it. They were
fault.
just look at this guy. And then his whole team got it. Man.
Twitter had a field day with Rudy Gobert. They're like, Rudy Gobert started coronavirus.
How does he still not get heat for that? Like, no one makes fun of him for that anymore.
People forgot about it now, so...
Man, we have
just
that
a way
bad of attention
It's
span?
just a way of life now, Aaron.
People remember Bill Buckner and rip on that poor man, R.I.P. But, like, that dude never lived it down for the ball going in between his legs, which a ghost probably messed with that ball.
Probably.
So, if you watch that,
that's
not a natural
it
movement.
It looks weird, yeah. Trust
but
me.
that man never lived that down. But Rudy Gobert started a pandemic for sports, and he just is off the hook. That doesn't add up.
I don't know. The world is weird like that, but I think there were some interesting changes, like digital fans in the stands as well came from that. Sports
cardboard
cutouts. The piped-in crowd noise was very strange.
I like that.
I don't like that. It's very too synthetic for me.
Yeah, but you'd rather. So it didn't trick you. See, it'll trick me.
It did trick me.
I've literally watched sports, and then I'll be like, "Oh wait, there's."
When they first started doing it, I was like, "Wait, I thought everything was shut down."
But see, I don't
want to
have silence because it feels like you're watching a practice.
I know, that's why.
Like I said, you watch the bubble, you already feel like you're watching like summer league.
I read an article where some players feel like they need to have the crowd noise because it spurs them on, it gives them extra energy.
Well, the Seattle Seahawks, they were talking about that, how they're having a tough time because they got the 12th man thing, and they're so loud. I mean, they're literally like one of the loudest teams in sports. And in Kansas City, that's another one too, where end of the game they'll win just because the opposing team can't hear, and it just rattles them. Whereas now you can only do so much with piped-in crowd noise.
Yeah, that's true.
So it's interesting.
I didn't like it too much, but shutdown continued. Human interaction basically became a standstill, and our 30th episode took a look at the changes in social interaction, from Zoom shares to remote working to digital technology. FaceTime got a little bit more popular to fill that void of human interaction. So
I hate FaceTime calls. I'm just going to say that. Don't FaceTime me. Anyone. If you have my number,
FaceTime you. I can't do it.
No, don't. No. First of all, like, I don't want to see my double chin when I'm like looking down at the phone. You're never going to get a good view there. Also, I'm never doing anything that you need to see me. Like, I'm sitting on my couch, like
the right angles, Aaron.
Yeah, it's all about angles.
Oh, well.
Who do you think I am, Abigail Ratchford?
I wish, but well, yeah. So our episode, we took a lot of look at the whole human interaction, how that was going to change, and technology is definitely going to play a big role in that. But moved on to the term of the term essential versus non-essential got thrown around quite a bit. So the 31st episode of this year took a look at what it meant to be an essential worker. So we found out that things like gyms, movies, stores, and more recreational things were non-essential workers, whereas healthcare workers and maintenance workers and banks and stuff were considered more essential. So I thought it was interesting to take a look at, what was the contrast between the two, because during the beginning of the pandemic, that was very confusing. That
was controversial because it's
very controversial. Yeah.
What? So you're saying this guy's more important to me? I mean, it's such a gray area, and it's so hard.
It's very strange. But take a listen and see if your profession made the list of our.
It probably didn't.
It probably didn't, but you never know. But with the shutdown in full swing, we were kind of missing our regular weekend restaurant reservations. We got a bit tired from ordering some takeout. So episode 32 took a look at the restaurant and bars, how they might return post-pandemic. And I think we hit the nail on the head for this one, at least for now. Mm-hmm. They're not technically back yet, but in full capacity.
Depends where you live.
Yeah.
If you're in California, no.
Nothing in California.
If you're in Florida, all good.
But like live music, buffets, family-style dinners.
Don't bring that up.
Kind of
make me sad.
Getting the boot. And restaurants pivoted really well by shifting towards a more streamlined approach of online ordering, delivering, spaced out tables for patrons. I believe it was you who said that they were going to do a digital version.
Who else? Who else would
Well,
say
I couldn't remember if it was you or me, but I'm pretty sure it was you.
50-50 shot.
Who said they were going to do the digital menus and stuff too, like on your phone. It wasn't the QR code that you said, but they're like, you're probably going to do digital menus. Just look it up online.
Hey!
Yeah, you were right.
I invented that.
You invented that, yes.
Where's my royalties?
I don't know. Not here. They go into their budget for Weekendology.
I'm like
so
a Thomas Edison employee.
Episodes.
I have good ideas, and then people just take them and make money off them.
You're like the dude who created peanut butter and jelly. He never gets a cent out of any of the royalties, but he's pretty famous because he created the best sandwich in the world. So
Created the sandwich?
yeah, the dude who created PB&J, he's not making money off of that, but he created the best sandwich of all time.
I mean, essentially you're just creating a recipe. You're just putting two things together.
Yeah,
it's like the guy who created the Reese's cup.
His idea is the best, but he's not getting credit for it. So there you go.
I feel like you could have come up with a better example.
You know what, Aaron?
It's kind of like how Alexander Graham Bell stole the telephone idea.
Okay.
Although he did want us to answer, speaking of Thomas Edison, fun fact, he wanted us to answer with ahoy when he answered the phone instead of hello. And it was Thomas Edison that said, you should answer with hello. And he ruined it for everyone.
Oh.
We could have
all been sailors.
Ahoy!
Ahoy, maybe.
To the Weekendology podcast.
Yeah, very much so. But yes, so moving on to our next one. We talked about a lot of sports and movies going hand in hand, like peanut butter and jelly. So episode 33 took a look at the movie effect in sports. A lot of sports heroes getting the Hollywood treatment. We looked at our best sports movies, documentaries, all the positive and negative outcomes of media representation in sports. I thought that was a very entertaining one.
I'm going to say, too, I've rekindled my love for sports movies.
Yes, they're such a great story.
It's so good.
They're
just
good.
Yeah, I don't think I've watched one where I'm like, wow, that sucked. Like, they're all decent. Some are cheesy. I don't know if I said this on the podcast or not, but the movie Invincible, that pissed me off. Just because, like,
that
that's
one wasn't great. No.
It's a good movie, but it's so fake. Like, stick to the true storyline if you're going to make a movie about it. Stop adding.
Remember the Titans is
things.
One of the greatest sports movies of all time.
Oh, I love that movie.
It's so good. But,
what are your top 5 right now of sports movies?
Remember the Titans has got to be up there. I got to put Rudy up there just because.
Okay,
it kind
classic.
of makes me cry a little bit.
Wow. It reminds me of me because I was a small defenseman.
I did like the Way Back with.
I never saw that.
Ben Affleck.
Yeah, it's about isn't that about him?
Yeah, it's literally about him being an alcoholic and coming back and not drinking anymore. But
coaches basketball.
Coaching basketball, but that was a good one. I did like. I can't remember the name of it, but it's women's softball or baseball and
A League of Their Own.
Yes, A League of Their Own.
There's no crying in baseball.
Yes, I love that movie.
Rosie O'Donnell, Madonna.
Yeah, Tom Hanks is in it too.
Yeah,
great movie. I can't think of another one though.
Have you seen Glory Road?
Oh yeah, that's a good one.
That's a fantastic movie. I've never seen it, and I just watched it recently.
I like that one.
So good. So that's what is now UTEP, University of Texas El Paso. Yep. It's crazy. They beat Kentucky. They beat Adolph Rupp. I didn't know this story.
Wow.
And they're the first one to start an all-black starting lineup in 1966 in the South. So, but what a great movie and what a great story. I mean, that will never happen again. Beating Kentucky, a school like that.
Yeah, that's pretty insane.
Just so inspirational. And when you look the story up, like they had a lot of factual stuff, and they didn't add too much to it.
We'll go check that episode out too. We moved on to our next one. We couldn't let music go unaccounted for. So with episode 34, we looked at how concerts could change post-pandemic. We talked about
the jury's still
shows.
Out for that one.
Jury's still out. Digital ticketing, live Zoom concerts is what we predicted,
and we got it right. They're doing some drive-in shows, not many, which surprises me. I thought drive-in shows would really pick up. Once I saw they were starting to do those, I was like, okay, that's what they're going to do now. And they only do a few.
Yeah, they only did a couple of them, but
why?
I'm not sure. Maybe it wasn't as popular as everybody thought it would be, or people just kind of like.
I mean, I'd rather do that than a Zoom concert.
I mean,
I want to watch a concert on TV. I'll just Google something on YouTube
and watch it on HBO or something.
Yeah, like
it'd be the same effect. But music is so important to our culture, so I think it'll find its way back eventually. But not sure if concerts will come back in the same capacity as.
When do you think they're going to come back at this point?
I don't know. Could be another year or so.
Another year?
Yeah. Until the vaccine is fully ready to go. I don't know. I don't want to make it too political or anything, but
my Carrie Underwood concert tickets are moved to August of 2021.
You would hope it would.
I'm hanging on.
It would be fine.
I was hanging on hope when it got rescheduled September, and then they're like, you know what? We don't trust anyone. We're pushing this another year out, like a full year out. So they better get that one right.
Let's hope so. But episode 35 couldn't get much bleaker for us, and especially for the MLB, as we covered its shutdown and if it could survive the 2020 year. I think there's been a lot of disagreement between the players and the owners of the MLB, and some changes needed to happen, which we covered in that episode. Eventually, a 60-game season was agreed upon, but
I liked it. Huge fan.
I did like it. It was short, sweet, to the point.
It made every game count, and that was my knock. I love watching baseball, but that was my knock on baseball, where it's like I don't need to watch games in June.
The regular season, it didn't matter.
This one, I was watching baseball every night because I'm I need to see and you could tell the guys are playing so much harder. Like it was like not quite playoff baseball in the regular season, but close. So I'm for it. It'll never happen again.
Sadly, no.
The environment continues. Let's knock on wood. Hope it doesn't. But
I'd be totally fine if they just switched to a 80-game season, the whole year. It'd be fine.
That was one thing. I'm not a Rob Manfred fan by any means, but he took a lot of heat for how he handled that, and especially when the Marlins and Cardinals were getting COVID, and be like, "Oh, see, he's an idiot." Blah blah blah. It worked out in the end. Terrific job. So. Hey, props to him.
All
I know it's a hot take because everyone loves hating on him. But
this show's all about hot takes, though. But with no return in sight for restaurants and our favorite dining room experiences, episode 36 got a little bit dirty as we talked about all the things that we hated most about restaurants. So from too many food items on the menu to no identity for the restaurant itself, to some reservation issues, food storage problems. We kind of gave you all the worst things about the food industry and kind of the changes that we wanted to see. And that was a fun episode. I like kind of griping about some
got to just get some good rants out.
Yeah, I got some good
pent up anger
and stuff. Our next episodes, we talked about education as schools talked about a possible return for the fall. Episode 37 went a little academic to talk about the changes in universities post-pandemic. You're noticing a theme here. A lot of our
jury's still out on that
episodes,
one too.
Talked about post-pandemic changes.
Man,
but
talk about. I was talking about with my mom a couple of weeks ago. It's just interesting because she was like, "Why would anyone go to a university anymore? Just everyone's going to do online school." I think that's really what's going to happen. I saw a commercial for Strayer University.
Yeah.
I mean, at this point, why you're paying all that money? I feel so bad for kids in college.
And I feel bad for him too, but I don't feel like the virtual learning is working as well as people would like. And I've talked to a lot of college students about this, and they say that they
hanging out with the kids.
Hanging out with the kids.
I'm just picturing you with your skateboard. How do you do, fellow kids? Like that meme.
Yes.
I was talking to some college kids about this.
Hello, fellow kids. But they don't feel like that the virtual learning is a really effective use of their time. They're not really learning a whole lot. And you go to college for the rousing sermons that the college professors give.
That's why we go to college?
Yes. Sorts.
I just need my rousing sermon.
But you get... I don't know. I learned so much better in a in-person environment. And I feel like if it's totally virtual... it's going to take away a lot of the experience of not just academics, but a lot of the social elements of college as well.
I just feel like when all this is done, though, I really feel like people kind of came to terms with, you know what, maybe we don't need to go by that old model and sacrifice, like you said, maybe sacrifice a little bit of, is it the most effective way to learn? Probably not, but we could save money. We could save time. We could do it in 3 years instead of 4. We can save just all these sorts of things, and people chalking it up to, you know what, I'm just going to go the virtual route now. And I really, it's bleak, man, for universities, especially these big ones.
I know.
It's going to be tough, and I really think it's going to start becoming kind of the old way of doing things, where it's like, oh, you went to a university, a 4-year, lived on campus in the dorm, blah, 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 university.
You lived life in the danger zone or something.
You lived life the old school way. Like, people don't do that anymore, Yeah. It's going to be weird.
I think it's going to be really tough for all the college sports teams, too, and that's what our next episode 38, took a look at, was the future of college sports post-pandemic and what is needed for a safe return for student athletes. And so we talked a lot about maybe some of the foreign students facing deportation during the time, because a lot of this, universities were being shut down. They were revoking some of the scholarships as well. Ivy schools cutting entire sports programs. Harvard and Stanford cutting all of the rowing and even the volleyball.
Well, and Ivy League isn't playing winter sports.
Yeah, they're not doing anything. So they're losing. The athletic program is losing millions of dollars from sponsorships or broadcasting rights, or the football seasons are getting canceled or postponed or shortened. There's no fans at any of these, and you don't get the true college experience of,
tough
that
being
atmosphere.
a Arizona State fan when you play one football game.
Can you imagine if that's your entire season? Like the 2020 season was one game. That's even worse than
that's
playing
what
no
it's
games
felt
at
like.
all,
That's honestly. So there's a game this coming up this Saturday as we record this.
Yes.
But I'm not holding my breath.
I wouldn't. I
just
either. Don't get your hopes up, Aaron. So
I haven't. That's what this year has proved to me most. Especially about sports. Don't get your hopes up.
Don't get your hopes up.
And also, sports aren't that important. That's the funny thing too. Especially rooting for ASU. It doesn't matter. I don't need to be all jacked up every Saturday about if they win or lose. Because look, they play one game and then cancel the rest of the season. So it's like,
well, that episode was all about the changes that could potentially happen after post-pandemic for college sports and everything. But
it's gone. I feel like some conferences though, it's gone a little bit smoother than they thought.
Yes, I think so. It just depends on where you are in the country.
Again, it depends on the state.
That's the strange part. But we moved on to our next episode. Sometimes even though you love a sport, the fan base just sucks sometimes. So episode 39 took a look at the worst fan bases in sports. Probably pissed a lot of people off with this episode. Various Chicago teams were named. Packers were named. Philly teams were named as well as some of the most insufferable fan bases. And I thought this was a fun
Looking
episode
at you,
to
Kim.
do. Don't mention her on this podcast. She's going to get all angry at me now. So,
Loyal listener.
No, we should be mentioning some of the Chicago fans that I got a lot of heat from after that episode. They were messaging me and they were like, "What do you mean the Cubs have the worst fan base in sports?"
Ditka. Ditka 85 Bears.
That's their glory years. But man, sometimes just sports teams just have the worst fans, and you just gotta rip on them, and that was a fun episode to do.
It was, and I think going back to sports doesn't really matter. Like I think that it's these crazy fans and these just annoying fan bases. They need to realize, like, hey man, this is all for fun at this point. Like,
very much
if
is,
you can put teams in a bubble and you can cancel pretty much whole seasons, it just shows it's for fun. This isn't life or death here. We don't need to be throwing trash at players or, screaming at them on social media and blah, blah, blah. It's for fun. And I hope that's what came out of 2020 is showing that sports are for pure entertainment.
I would hope so. But, so Aaron, do you ever think you see the same movie over and over? Because that's exactly what we did our next episode on. We talked about the same old Hollywood cliches as we made episode 40, all about the overused Hollywood movie tropes. So from the bad father who works too much to aliens always attacking America.
Every Liam Neeson movie you've ever seen.
Every Liam Neeson movie to the villain monologuing in the most stereotypical fashion and getting killed in the most stereotypical way. That was all covered in our overused Hollywood movie tropes, which was a pretty fun episode and kind of shed some light on a lot of these movies of just rehashing the same things over and over.
It's just funny to look back on movies you think are good and then realize they're really cheesy.
Yes.
And they just use the same lines, the same thing every time. And I'm not saying they're bad, but it's just funny where I feel like a lot of us look at movies and they're like, oh, that's a really good movie. And then when you think about the lines in it or the plot, and you're like, oh, man, that's the same thing.
It is the same
all the
thing.
other
Yeah.
movies like that.
Our next episode, we kind of got tired of seeing hardworking people get canceled over something too edgy that they said or happened a few years ago. So cancel culture was a big topic that was running rampant over the summer into the early parts of the fall. So we talked about cancel culture. Is it ruining the entertainment industry in episode 41? And we took a look at some of the celebs who lost their spotlight due to some drama that happened a few years ago.
Can we cancel Jake Paul?
Yes, please.
I'm sick of hearing about him.
I would love to cancel Jake Paul.
I don't care you knocked out Nate Robinson.
Him and Logan Paul, both of the brothers.
Yeah, I mean, they're a package deal, so just cancel both of them. But I'm tired of him, man. He's just talentless. And they think they're all that. That's the worst part.
I hate them.
They think they deserve this celebrity status.
But sometimes, you say something that was taken the wrong way or out of context,
right,
and it's drudged up years later, and then you get fired from your TV show, or you get blacklisted from Hollywood.
Unless you're Donald Trump.
Well,
then
that's true. Yeah, very double-edged
double
sword.
standard there.
Very double standard there. But there's unfortunately a lot of culprits and I guess victims of cancel culture. That doesn't need to happen.
And I think too that was a product of, like we said, people sitting around, nothing to do, getting overly angry about stuff because they just sit there and keep thinking about it, and it's just kind of like with the sports fans, just getting just way too angry about something that doesn't really matter, or something where you're thinking too hard about that, or hey, I'm bringing up something from 2007 when social media was brand new and attributing that to 2020 when it's a totally different world.
Yeah, it's not like they're a different person now from when they were 15 years ago, or they have different viewpoints. Like that could never happen.
Or
right?
that social media was used in a completely different way.
Exactly. Yeah. So our next episode, Aaron, was ABC Always Be Captioning was the theme of episode 42. We took a look at how social media influencers were taking the world by storm. We did look at the validity of it, being from a professional career like a YouTuber or a influencer in Instagram. I think we asked the big question is like, would you be okay if your kid dropped out of school to be a Instagram influencer or a social media influencer? And your episode was a resounding no.
Yeah,
from what I remember.
I'm too old school for that.
Yes,
I'm going to be just that.
You're
old
an
man,
old man, Aaron. But
go learn a trade.
I thought it was a really cool topic.
Would you want your daughter to be an Instagram model?
No, not at all. No.
What if she made a lot of money? I just don't want to have a Lawrence Fishburne moment.
I just hope I'm never faced with that type of decision. So I will support my child no matter what.
You don't want to have a Lawrence Fishburne moment where you're like, my daughter's an actress, and you're like, oh, she's in those kind of movies.
No,
never mind. I don't want that. So that's why I would rather just I don't think I'm going to encourage my daughter to do that.
Yeah, I thought it was a cool episode though. Talked about the ins and outs of the industry itself, and you can make some pretty damn good money off of it. So
yeah,
if you're an Instagram influencer or a YouTuber or something like that, you got a shot.
Hey, the way the world's going, it's definitely still a career path, but
it definitely is.
I just it's too scary for me for job security there.
Well, maybe things will
Insurance
change.
in a 401k is important.
Maybe it'll be a major at universities for virtual
learning.
Hey,
esports became one, so
that's true.
Never thought that would happen. I remember when
gamer.
I had an Uber driver when esports first came out, and I was like, hey, we're naturally you talk about your life story, and he's like, oh, my kid has a full ride to Kansas State for esports, and I just thought that was the craziest thing ever. I'm like, how is that a thing? This is like 2010 or 2011.
It's pretty cool.
Now everyone's doing it. So, hey, you never know.
You never know. So we moved on to our next episode, part 2 to one of our early episodes, Has Hollywood Become Boring? Episode 43 took a look at Hollywood's content problem. Is there such a thing as too much content? Do all of the streaming shows dilute the quality of shows and movies? And that's kind of what we talked about on our last episode last week with David Rosen from Piecing It Together podcast, was a lot of the shows now are just being released for the sake of being released. They're not really great quality. It's quantity over quality, Aaron. And that's a huge thing I think needs to change going forward is if you're going to keep streaming these movies on TV or TV shows, movies, whatever it is, you got to invest in actually making it good.
Right.
And not just having it out just to fill a time slot or a list on upcoming movies for December of 2020 for Netflix or something. Like you got to make it worthwhile.
Stop using the overused movie tropes.
Yeah, stop using the same stuff over and over and doing sequels to movies that don't need to happen. Yep. So go check that one out. I think that was pretty fun and definitely needs something that needs to change going forward. We moved on to our next episode. We talked about video games. Were supposed to be something kind of you grew out of, but 50 years after the inception of it, and everyone seems to disagree. So we took a look at the billion-dollar industry of video games. We took a look at how they might change in the future. A lot of the new technology like VR might, change how we experience games, more simulation, more, involvement with them as well. But I think that was pretty cool too. I loved playing video games, and interesting to take a look at how they might be changing in the future then. So
when are you getting your PS5?
I'm never getting a PS5 at this rate, so I check every day and they're all sold out. So
PS6 is going to come out and you'll be like hipster
probably
be playing PS5.
PS5 Pro was trending on Twitter, and people were like, wait, PS5 Pro? I don't even have the regular PS5 yet. It's way too early to be talking about that. So I don't know, but we moved on to our next episode. September brought us the return of pro sports with the bubble, so we dedicated that episode to episode 45 to exploring if the NCAA could do a sports bubble. And I think the short answer was yes, but the long answer was no, because it won't make them as much money, and it was logistically very difficult for it to happen.
And funny how that worked. They didn't do it because they don't want to lose money.
They don't want to do it, and it's not going well for the NCAA and all of their sports areas. So,
hence my pick of the week.
Yes, the system.
There you go. See?
There you go. So, we spent all of episode 45 talking about that. I think that one was pretty good because it still relates to what's happening in nowadays type of thing.
Well, and they've talked about it for March Madness, doing a bubble. So.
I think it would work in March Madness.
Yeah.
Like, I think we talked about that too. Like, it would work in an enclosed type of tournament like that, but for all the teams through all of like it was too hard to delineate like, okay, well, which teams would make the bubble and which ones would not, and then like, oh, well, you're valuing this team's safety more than this one's, and it would be impossible. But they could do it, but they probably won't ever.
Yeah.
So
too challenging.
Too challenging. Yeah. But speaking of challenging, 2020 was a challenging year, and so there were so many negative things that happened. So we wanted to turn the tide with episode 46 and take a look at all the good things that come out of the pandemic. And there were some good things that come out of this still. It's increased community spirit, reduced carbon emissions, not as much cars on the road, a lot of applause for essential workers and more. So we're all about spreading the positivity through this episode.
Nature is healing.
Nature is healing. Get outside. Become more in tune with your nature self.
Hug a tree.
Go hug a tree. Yes. I don't know. Be a tree hugger.
Is that social distancing though?
Yeah. Yeah. You are social distancing because you're not around
from
people.
A tree.
That damn tree.
What if you hug a tree and you have COVID and then I go hug the tree?
You could get COVID.
It. Yeah, right. So maybe we shouldn't be hugging trees.
Maybe. I don't know.
What do I do?
I don't know. But there were some great things that come out of the pandemic, some of the things we listed. But to check more of them out, go watch or listen to our episode because there's lots of great positivity spread through that one. So we moved on to next one. The final frontier was all we had left for us, Aaron, as we ventured into the unknown with episode 47. We talked about space travel and if it's a smart investment or not. This one was really cool. We've never done a space travel episode, so it was cool to talk about a new topic. And I think, long story short, we settled on Earth's not going to last forever, so if we don't invest in this kind of space travel now, we're going to miss out on, one, exploring the universe, and two, potentially saving the species.
Yeah.
So.
Well, and shout out Elon Musk. He's a SpaceX, man. That's just keeps going forward, and man, seems like they're launching new rockets every day. And
they are.
It's not every day, but it seems like it. It's just they're that's awesome. I love that company, and I love how they really are carrying NASA at this point.
Pretty much,
but, yeah. Just Elon Musk. I don't know. You could have a lot of opinions about him. Kind of a weird dude, but I mean, that man is.
He's doing well. He's doing well. So we're into the final stretch then of our episode list for this year. We talked about in episode 48 the idea of a free college system, and that's been thrown around for a couple years. But we asked if it could actually work. We talked about if a free college would give students the chance to go to university more, but would it dilute the education quality as well? So I think we had a split decision on this, if it was good or not good to do this. I said it was possible, but it wasn't feasible. Like, logistically, it would be very difficult. Yeah. I think you were all for it, though, weren't you?
Free college?
Yeah.
I can't imagine I would be.
Oh, he changed his viewpoint then. Maybe you were against it, and I don't remember, but.
Yeah, I no, I just don't. It can't work. It's kind of like how it's a big topic to get rid of student loan debt. I just don't think you can do that.
It would be very difficult, and that's a hot topic with the presidential election.
It sounds good, but a lot of things sound good, but when you get to the nitty-gritty of how to do it, it's like,
it seems too good to be true, but in an ideal world, I'd love to have college be free.
I mean, I'd love to have everything free, but it's not happening.
That's probably not going to happen, but go check that episode out if you want to hear our
I think the alternative, though, like I said, is people will shift to online learning, which is cheaper. So they'll find those alternatives of maybe not free, but super reduced. Yes. So you're not going to see $100,000, for tuition.
Well, we did move on to a new topic as well. We all love a good meal, but where does it actually come from? Is it as healthy as it's supposed to be? So episode 49 was all about the sustainable food options and what organic meant, and when it comes to food production. So this one was inspired by your boy, Zac Efron, Down to Earth. Show on Netflix. We looked at all the newest ways that agriculture was making food healthier and truer to being as wholesome as possible. Maybe obesity is just a lie. I don't know. Maybe it's a figment of our imagination, Aaron. Who knows? But
it's a hoax.
It's a hoax. But that one was cool because it was a new topic. We talked about the organic nature of foods and how some of the agriculture now is really being sustainable and being productive for both the environment and for food, and it's healthier for people, and that's what sustainable food is all about. It's a win-win for everybody. So
part 2 of that episode, we're gonna have Zach in studio in 2021. So
yes,
check that out.
We're gonna have Zac Efron on this show. It's gonna
coming.
happen. But we moved on to episode 50, the milestone for any podcast, as we took it in style. We looked at minor league baseball, how minor league baseball should be changed, I guess, going forward. There's a lot of challenges that players had with like lack of pay. They needed better living conditions. There's limited time off between the games and the seasons. So we talked about how the MLB should change their treatment of their players and how they should change the game itself for minor leaguers. And
there's hope for that.
There is hope. Yes.
There's the St. Paul Saints just got involved with the Minnesota Twins, so now they're officially a part of their farm system. And I think that's a trend we're going to start seeing, where these independent clubs will start latching on to the big clubs and create more of a partnership there.
Yeah,
so
I do hope the MLB
hope.
takes more of a grassroots approach with it, and I guess builds the ground up from the youth players to treating the minor league players better, because they are essentially ones that maybe not the backbone of the sport in America, but
I'd say they are.
They're a big part.
St. Louis Cardinals
so.
don't win World Series without their farm system.
That's true.
Matt Carpenter, guys like that, like just homegrown, man.
Yeah, I thought that was a really interesting episode, and definitely a lot of good change viewpoints could come from that. Mm-hmm. So check that one out. We moved on to Halloween, the best holiday of the year, Aaron. Our very first Halloween special took a look at the origins of Halloween. We looked at how the holiday could be celebrated in the future. Kids' candy and costumes aren't going to go away anytime soon, but we did talk about how technology might make it safer for trick-or-treating in the future. This one was really cool because Halloween's my favorite holiday, but also like you learn some great new facts about Halloween and the origins of which, and the culture is
how Irish it was.
It is a very Irish, Celtic, or originated holiday, and it's got some roots in both religion and theology, but also like paganism and just being very superstitious as well. And that was really fun. So.
Yeah. Go watch Hubie Halloween on Netflix.
Don't watch Hubie Halloween on Netflix. Our next episode, though, sometimes we delved into a lot of entertainment episodes for these last couple of them. We want our favorite movies to continue, so all about episode 52, we talked about the movies that needed sequels. District 9 was definitely up there. We had World War Z make the list, Hitch as well. We want to hear from you.
It still makes me laugh how Hitch made the list.
I'd love to make Hitch too. That'd be awesome.
I mean, I'd watch it.
I'd watch it too. But what movies do you want to see have sequels for? Share us with us in the comments below. We'd love to hear from you. But our next episode, because we're a glutton for punishment, episode 54 was all about the TV shows that needed to be come back and revived. So Frasier, Fresh Prince, Family Matters, just about every other 90s sitcom made our list for this.
Fresh Prince reunion?
I have not. I just got an HBO Max subscription.
They put it on HBO, and I just got rid of HBO right when they put it on there. I'm like, oh,
dang. I will. I just got HBO, so I will be watching that probably at some point soon.
I just want to see Carlton do his dance.
Me too. But they do recreations of like all like the iconic moments from the show.
Oh, there you go.
So I am looking forward to seeing some of the moments that made me laugh.
Someone has to throw Jazz since Uncle Phil's not around anymore.
Yeah,
someone's got to pick him. Will Smith.
It'll be Will Smith.
Jazz
Yeah, just throw him out of the thing there. So go check it out. Maybe your show made the list of things that need to come back and be revived. So our next episode, it's inevitable that your favorite movie is going to be made into a live-action adaptation. But it's not just the Disney movies that we talked about in this episode. It was movies based off of video games, action figures, theme parks, and more. that got the green light for big screen enjoyment. So we talked all about how Hollywood is bringing live action adaptations to the big screens, and this one was cool. I would have thought that episode number 54 would be based off of how Pirates of the Caribbean got turned into a billion-dollar film franchise, a theme park ride. So
pretty crazy. You look at some of those movies, you're like, wow, that's how that started. Like Tron or Transformers, or
very, very strange, but
and they make money. Shockingly enough,
they do make
people
money.
See them.
And then finally, episode 55 we had last week was with David Rosen of Piecing It Together podcast. We talked about the origins of the movie industry, how it changed throughout the years, the evolution of which. So that one was cool. We had another guest on, and we took a look at the Fast and Furious franchise and how that has changed and what other movies inspired that one going forward too. So that's it. That's our entire year in review, Aaron. All 37 episodes. 2020 has been our most successful year here at Weekendology. So we hope to continue bringing you guys the hottest takes, the best talking points, and the stories to spark your weekend conversations. What was your favorite episode from 2020, and what do you guys want to see change next? Let us know as we continue the conversation afterwards. Hit us up on Twitter, YouTube, and every social media to let us know what your thoughts are as well. Share with your thoughts us on our social handles. Email us. Let us know. We want to hear from you guys. What comes next after this? Because if 2020 was as wild as if 2021 is as wild as 2020, then I got no idea what's coming. So,
I mean, just greatness. There's just nowhere greatness to go but up, right? So I'm ready.
True.
Let's bring it on.
I'm ready too. So check us out on Twitter at Weekendology Pod. We got our sports handle at Weekendology Sports. And our Weekendology ENT is our entertainment handle. Check us out on YouTube as well. We've got a Facebook page. You can check out our last episode where we talked about the changing industry that is Hollywood with a special crossover episode and guest host, Piecing It Together podcast, David Rosen.
Or you could check out all the other 36 other episodes that we just talked about.
Yes.
Those too.
Links for all of those will be in the description below, but you could just check us out on Spotify, on Apple, on Amazon Music.
We better been in your Spotify Wrapped this year, people.
We better have been. Yes, we deserve that. So we really appreciate everyone joining us for 2020. We've got some great new episodes coming up for 2021. We are going to be taking a break until the holidays are over with. So have a Merry Christmas, everyone. We really appreciate it, and we'll see you guys all next time.